Welcome to Spam Filter for Your Brain, bite-sized ponderings on how our thoughts influence our behaviour and our lives, and because we're all connected, how our thoughts impact the world. I'm here to help people reconnect with their bodies and declutter their brains. And I don't believe that we should just magically know how our emotions and our thoughts impact our lives if no one ever teaches us. So let's learn this stuff together. This week's podcast is a little bit special. At the beginning of June, I am launching a brand new course called Your Next Chapter. And it's a course which is going to deal with the entire spectrum of finding ourselves a place where maybe life didn't work out the way that we thought it was going to. How we can deal with some of the complicated emotions that come up around some of those things that we thought made a good life. Maybe it is you thought you'd learn to drive by now, or you thought you'd have the house or the kids or the career or the health or a different kind of body. Or maybe you've got a whole load of those things and actually turns out these things didn't make you happy in the first place. We're going to be looking at all of the feelings that can come up around realizing that we're not going to get to do all of the things that we want to do, and how we can feel about our sense of identity when we spent quite a lot of time chasing things that haven't worked out in exactly the kind of Disney dream way that we were sold. And then we're going to be looking at what we can do with the big feelings that we have about these things once we've identified them. And then we're going to be looking about, and what now? What do we do from here? What is the next step? Now, as a sort of special treat for people on the podcast, I wanted to offer you the introduction class to this. In June, we're going to be running this as a live class. It's going to be available for people. And it's a 4-week class. Each week you get a lesson and a workbook, and then you have a live group coaching call. And when you join, you get an introduction class. And I wanted to offer you this introduction class as an opening because it contains an awful lot of questions and things that you might want to think about and see if these are things that you feel you could do with a little bit of ease around. So that's what this week's podcast is the introduction class to this course. And there will be 4 weeks more if you would like to join us in June. I would love to see you inside. I hope you are aware by now, all of my work works on accessible pricing. So there is a full wage fee, there's a concessions fee, and we have bursary spaces for survivors and folk who would not otherwise be able to afford to come along because we don't gatekeep information over here. If you can't afford it, you're still very welcome. So reach out, let me know if this is something that is of interest to you, and I hope that you find the class really useful. Here is the introduction to Your Next Chapter. Quite often on coaching calls, I hear people say, I don't think I'm very good at adulting. Underneath that is often the message, I thought my life would look different to this. What are the markers of what would make a good adult life for you? Often what I hear coming up in coaching calls is being able to drive. Maybe it is some ideas that you have about your career or your financial goals. Maybe it's tied to the number of kids that you have or don't have. Maybe it was the traveling the world or the getting their house or to be on your 5th divorce by now. What are your markers of adulthood, and who taught you that? And how do these things align with your value metrics? Do they align with your politics? Do they align with the kind of way that you judge other people as to whether they're doing humaning right? How can you have some of these things and not have some of these things and not judge yourself? That's what we're going to be looking at in this course. We're going to be looking at some of these things and the way that we've spoken to ourselves about what does and doesn't make a good, strong life that we can be happy with. And also to hold some space for the sadness that some of this stuff hasn't happened for us and may not happen for us. And then we're going to go digging around in this a little bit and try and work out which one of those things really aren't possible and which ones did we put aside because we were told we shouldn't have needs or wants. We're going to look at where some of this messaging comes from. And in order to do that, I'd like you to just begin to have a little think about what is it that you think makes an adult? What is the life that you thought that you were going to have? Where are you now in that timeline? And is there anything that you put down that perhaps you'd still like to do? And I invite you to just have a think about what you think you would feel if you had all of those things. We're going to be doing a lot of work on this course about looking at the way that we think about things and how that reflects in the way that we feel about stuff. I invite you to get curious about why you want these things. What do you think they would give you that you don't have now? Do these things align with your values? Do you think that they would expand or shrink you? In order to have these things or not have these things that you decided would be the way that your life should look. Doing a lot of work on that word should. What contracts would you need to break in order to get those things in your life? What contracts would you need to break if you were to stop wanting them? And is it still possible to live a happy life going forward without these things? We're going to be looking at that in great detail. So how can you hold all of this stuff and maybe some grief as well? I'm going to invite you to look at the grittiness of the whole spectrum of life and just ask what's possible from where you are now, and how do we do this whole 360 and still hold ourselves without losing our identity? We're going to be asking ourselves what you gave up in order to live this life. And sometimes we're going to be asking if that was really a choice. Most important question that I want to leave you with for now as the introduction to this course is, what if things turned out better than I possibly hoped? We begin with the first module on the 1st of June. We'll be appearing in the portal below, but you've got some homework to do until then. Have a look at some of those questions, and I look forward to seeing you inside. If you've been enjoying what you're hearing on the podcast, you will love Self-Care School. Self-Care School is longer versions of this, more in-depth and more personalised. We have a whole hub of courses from body image to boundaries, perfectionism, time management, and a whole range of other topics. You name it, there's probably a course on it. But most importantly, we also have a weekly group coaching call where you get to apply this stuff to your everyday life and get support to try and untangle your own story from some of the emotions that you might not be enjoying in your life. If you would like to learn how to apply this work to your specific situation and to be building a life of your dreams, I would love to see you inside. Do pop over to selfcareschool.co.uk.